Hi everyone, welcome to Homeopathy Universal. So today we are going to discuss about immunity. As per theory based, it is a 15-mark essay question and I will help you prepare for such an essay question. Immunity is referred to the resistance which is exhibited by the host towards the injury caused by microorganisms and their products. Their function is to protect us from infectious diseases, and it is a reaction of the body against any form of antigen. So, two types of immunity is present: innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity is again divided into non-specific and specific, which is again classified into species, racial, and individual. Acquired or adaptive immunity is again classified into active and passive immunity, and these are again classified into natural and artificial. So these are the two main categories: innate immunity and acquired immunity. First, about the innate immunity. It provides a first line of defense against infections. It is a resistance to infections by an individual. It depends upon their genetic and constitutional makeup. It is not affected by any prior contact with these microorganisms or immunization. That is, there is no memory in innate immunity. It may be specific or non-specific. So it provides the first line of defense against the infections, and it is already present inside the body while from a birth itself, and it is a resistance to infections by the constitutional makeup. It is considered at three main levels, that is species level, racial level, and individual level. Now about species immunity. It refers to total or relative refractoriness to a pathogen which is shown by members of a particular species. So it is a relative refractoriness to a pathogen or the immunity to a particular pathogen which is shown by all the members of a particular species. For example, these human beings are not susceptible by these plants and animal pathogens, and the mechanism is not completely known. It may be due to the physiological and biochemical differences between the host and the organism, which determines their ability to multiply in the host. Next is racial immunity. In a particular species, different races may show differences in susceptibility to various pathogens. So it is in the ratio. So mainly due to genetic in origin. For example, the malarial parasites are resistant to the people of Mediterranean coast in Africa due to the abnormal heredity of this RBCs. So this is about the racial immunity which is seen in the people of a particular race. Next is the individual immunity. There is difference in this innate immunity which is exhibited by different individuals in a race, and genetic basis is studied on homozygous turns. Now we can understand what all are the factors which is affecting this innate immunity. First one is age. The very young and the very old people are more susceptible to infections than the rest. The fetus and the protected from maternal infections by the placental barrier. But some viruses like this rubella, herpes, crosses the barrier and causes infection to this fetus, which is causing this fetal death. Increased susceptibility in the young people, it may be due to some hormonal influences. Some infections like poliomyelitis and chickenpox, it tends to be more severe in adults. Older persons are highly susceptible due to waning of their immune responses, because as we grow older, there is less immunity in us. And there is other infirmities like enlarged prostate, which is leading to urinary stasis in old people. Influences. Endocrine disorders like hypothyroidism and adrenal dysfunction enhance the susceptibility to infection. Corticosteroids depresses the host resistance by their anti-inflammatory and anti-phagocytic effects and by the suppression of antibody formation hypersensitivity. Elevated steroid levels in pregnancy makes them more susceptible. So this is a hormonal influences. So there is also influence from these endocrine disorders. Now about the mechanism. First we can see about it on the epidermal surface, that is on the outer surface of the skin. The skin and mucous membrane, it acts as a mechanical barrier. Healthy skin, it possesses bactericidal activities due to high concentration of salts and drying sweat, sebaceous secretions, long-chain fatty acids and so on. Though the skin it frees itself of bacteria, its reaction to normal bacteria flora is very different as from a pathogenic bacteria. Next is the mucosa of the respiratory tract. The nose prevents entry of most microorganisms. Those that pass beyond them are held by this mucous lining of the epithelium. They are swept back to pharynx and are cuffed or swallowed out. Cuff reflex is very important with the help of cilia in respiratory epithelial cells. Particles which reaches the pulmonary alveoli is ingested by these phagocytic cells. This way, mucosa of the respiratory tract helps in getting rid of bacterial organisms. Next is the mouth. Saliva has inhibitory effect on many organisms. Once these microorganisms are swallowed, high acidity of the stomach destroys them. Next is the conjunctiva. That is the lacrimal secretions. The tear it contains antibacterial substance called as lysosine. It is active only against some non-pathogenic gram-positive bacteria. So literally we can say that our tears it contains some enzymes which helps to resist these bacteria. Next is urine. Due to their flushing action, it eliminates bacteria from the urethra. Spermine and zinc which is present in the semen is having antibactericidal activity. Next is the effect of antibacterial substance in blood and tissue. That is our complement system. There are soluble mediators like kinin, complements, C-reactive proteins, mannose binding lectin, and surfactant. Next is microbial antagonism. The skin and mucous surfaces have resident bacteria flora which prevents colonization by these pathogens. So alteration in this normal flora which produces infections. Next is the cellular factors. By phagocytic cells which ingest and destroy them. So neutrophils appears in the first site of infection. Dendritic cells are special type of marrow-derived cells which process and present antigen to the T lymphocytes. Macrophages are scavenger cells. Natural killer cells eliminate virally infected and tumor cells. And the mast cells it produces inflammatory mediators and innate lymphoid cells. So these all are the cellular factors which helps in the mechanism of innate immunity. Next is inflammation. It is a tissue injury or irritation initiated by entry of pathogens or other irritants leading to inflammation. Now we can look at the steps of inflammation. There is vasoconstriction, vasodilatation, margination of leukocytes, diapedesis, chemotactic substances are released, and microorganisms are finally phagocytosed and destroyed. I will make a different video on inflammation later. Next is the rise in temperature following. Fever stimulates the production of interferon and aids recovery from this viral infection. So it is also another method of innate immunity mechanism. Now what are the functions of innate immunity? First of all, it lacks memory. So it is the initial inflammatory reaction of the body in response to invading microorganisms by neutrophils and macrophages. There is antiviral role by cytokines. There is initiation and subsequent direction of this adequate immune response. Now we need to deal about acquired adaptive immunity. It is directed specifically against an invading pathogen. It has effect lifetime and the character's antigenic specificity is needed. There is diversity and there is also immunologic memory unlike we see of innate immunity. First type is active immunity. It is developed by an individual as a result of antigenic stimulus. It involves active functioning of the host immune apparatus leading to synthesis of antibodies and immunologically active cells. It sets in early after a latent period. During their development, there is often a negative phase during which the level of measurable immunity level may be lower. Once developed, it is very long lasting. Now the pathogen it enters the immune system. It produces antibodies as well as immune cells. These antibodies it attacks the extracellular antigens and immune compartments it attacks the intracellular antigens. So antibodies attacks the extracellular antigens and immune cells it attacks the intracellular antigens. It is again classified into two types such as natural and artificial. Natural it appears due to infection by a microbe which is long lasting, but duration varies with the type of pathogen. For example, measles, chickenpox. In syphilis, there is a special type of immunity. Here, the immunity to reinfection lasts only as long as the original infection remains active. Once it is cured, the patient again becomes susceptible. In artificial, there is resistance induced by vaccines. Vaccines are preparations of live or killed microorganisms and their products for immunization. There is bacterial vaccines, viral vaccines, live vaccines, and killed vaccines are present. So this is about natural and artificial type. Now about passive immunity. It is resistant to which are transmitted passively to a recipient in a ready-made form. Here the recipient's immune system is just having no active role and there is no antigenic stimulus, there is no latent period and there is protection immediately after immunization. There is no negative phase till the transmitted antibodies are metabolized and is eliminated. Here there is no secondary type of response, it is less effective but it acts immediately when there is instant immunity is needed. It is indicated for immediate and temporary protection in a non-immune host faced with a threat of infection. For example, the use of Rh immunoglobulin. It is again classified into two types, that is natural and artificial. Natural is passively transferred from mother to baby. Maternal antibodies are passed through the placenta and human colostrum IgA, which is present in the breast milk. By active immunization of mothers during pregnancy, it is possible to improve the quality of passive immunity in the fetus. Next is the artificial. It is by administration of antibodies, but they have a disadvantage of hypersensitivity and immune elimination. So this is all about the topic immunity. Hope you all understood. Thank you for watching.